So Trump is getting a lot of financial and political support from the Saudis and the Israelis. Also remember that if this war goes sideways and Trump is forced to use ground troops, he will probably get approval from Congress, and this will give him emergency war powers, which will allow him to influence the midterms. Wow. So Trump is thinking about a third term. And I think at the
oh my God! Fuck! Professor Zhang predicts U.S. will lose Iran war. Oh, man. Video by Breaking Points. So we're going to check out this video here by Breaking Points. They're going to bring on Professor Zhang, who is a very popular YouTuber, graduated from Harvard. He's a Chinese professor who specializes in geopolitics. And bro did something crazy. He predicted, I think over 2 years ago, but definitely no more than a year ago, that Donald Trump would, so he predicted that Trump would win the election versus Kamala. He predicted that Trump would go to war with Iran, and he also predicted that we would lose the war with Iran. And so he's 2 for 3 right now. And so that's kind of crazy, man. That's kind of crazy. So let's check this out and see what he has to say and why he thinks America is going to lose this war with Iran.
All right, guys, we've got yet another heavy hitter guest and first-time guest on the show. Professor Zhang, he is the star of the popular YouTube channel Predictive History. He uses game theory to analyze past, current, and to predict future geopolitical events. And he joins us now. Professor, great to have you.
Good to see you, sir.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. So, for people who aren't familiar with your work, I wanted to show folks that back in 2024, you made three big predictions. 1, that Trump would win. 2, that he would start a war with Iran. And 3, that the U.S. would lose that.
You know bro feeling himself, bro. You know he's feeling himself. He's like, yeah, I'm him. I'm really him. I saw all this shit coming. I called it.
Ward, let's take a listen to that.
In this class this semester, I'm making 3 big predictions, right? First is that Trump will win in November. Second is that the United States will go to war against Iran.
Crazy.
And the third big prediction is that the United States will lose this war, which will forever change the global order.
So obviously that last one is the only one who is
bro got to give me the lottery numbers.
Has not yet come to fruition is quite a stunning prediction. You know, do you stand by it? And what have you seen so far that leads you to sort of stand firm in that conclusion?
So given my analysis of how the war is progressing, I think that Iran has many more advantages over the United States. The reality is that right now, it's a war of attrition between the United States and Iran. And the Iranians have been preparing 20 years for this conflict. In their eschatology, in their religion, this is a war against the great Satan. They've had many practice runs. Last June was a 12-day war when the Iranians were able to examine and analyze the strike capacities.
Bro, you know they're never gonna stop. They're fighting for God, nigga. They're fighting for God. They believe that they're doing Allah's work. You can't beat that, bro. You can't beat that. What, you think we fighting for Jesus? Americans don't want to be in this war, man. American soldiers don't want to fight this shit, bro. They do not want to go to war for this bullshit, bro. Not for Israel. You know what I'm saying? So you got a deflated military. People, the American public does not want America to get involved in this shit. And then your enemy are dudes who are fighting for God? Nigga, you're gonna lose!
Of both the Israelis and the Americans. And they've had a lot of time, 8 months, to prepare fully for this new attack. They, through their proxies, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Shia militias, have been able to really grasp the American mentality and now they have a pretty good strategy of how to weaken and ultimately destroy the American empire. So what the Iranians are doing is they're waging war against the entire global economy. And so they are striking the GCC countries. And not only are they striking GCC countries, American bases, they're going after the critical energy infrastructure of these bases. They blocked off the Strait of Hormuz. And eventually, they will go after the water desalination plants, which is the lifeblood of these nations because they don't have fresh water supply. In fact, the water desalination plants provides 60% of the GCC's water supply. So if a drone, and these drones cost $50,000, if they wiped out a desalination plant in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and it's a city of 10 million people, right? They'd be out of water in 2 weeks.
God damn it.
In 2 weeks. And right now, the Iranians have de facto closed off the Strait of Hormuz, and the GCC gets 90% of its food from the Strait of Hormuz. So I know a lot of people are talking about the disruptions to the global economy.
Right.
But right now, the Iranians are actually threatening the very existence of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, essentially, Iran is saying to all of these. So let's pull this shit up on the map so y'all can look at this shit, because this shit is fucking crazy, bro. Yeah, first and foremost, look how big Iran is, bro. Just in case you don't really get it. All right, so we got Iran right here. Here's Tehran, which is the capital of Iran, right? Here's Israel over here. Now, this is the Strait of Hormuz right here. This little region where you got the fucking water coming through the Gulf and going into the Arabian Sea. Well, that's essentially how all of these Middle Eastern countries that ship out oil, this is how they get the oil out. You feel me? Through right here. And so the Strait of Hormuz, I think, is just in regards to this little section right here. And as you can see, it's small, right? And it's right on the coast of Iran. And so essentially, Iran's saying, nigga, we will fucking cut this shit off, nigga. Ain't nothing getting in, nothing getting out. Now, that's a big problem in regards to the global oil supply, because the Middle East supplies, I think, like a third of the world's oil, right? Like, a lot of oil comes out of Iran. China is a huge consumer of Middle Eastern oil, right? They consume, I think, like 80% of the oil that Iran ships out goes to China. But anyway, right? So what essentially Iran is doing, though, is saying, like, look, one, it's attacking all of the U.S. military outposts in these other Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, which is where Dubai is, right? And so Iran is like, fuck nigga, fuck nigga, fuck nigga. Like, anywhere, not Iraq, anywhere the U.S. bases are located, U.S. embassies, U.S. military outposts that have been set up to surround Iran, Iran's like attacking all of them. And so if you've seen any posts online about how Iran is like going to war with all these other countries, that's like kind of misrepresenting what's going on. It's not like Iran is just like, oh, fuck all of you guys, I'm just going to war with all of you. No, it's more like Iran is just trying to target all the places where there are American military outposts, right? Because wherever there are American military outposts, you also have the CIA, right? And these are strategic places for America to, you know, strategize against and attack Iran. So Iran is attacking all of them. It's also sending a message to these countries, basically saying, y'all are a bunch of fuck niggas because, you know what I'm saying, you're teaming up with these dudes, America, and you know what I'm saying, you see, look how they're hoeing y'all. Look how they ain't coming to your rescue, right? We fucking dropping mad bombs on your shit. Where is America? They ain't even here. So this is what you get for fucking with these Americans, you fuck niggas. That's essentially what Iran is saying. I'm not saying that. That's what Iran is saying. And so, so on top of the fact that they're like bombing these American outposts in these other Middle Eastern countries, which is essentially they're trying to get American troops to get on the ground, bro. Essentially, Iran is like a jiu-jitsu master and America is like a striking master. We're talking MMA, right? So essentially, Iran wants to play the ground game. Iran wants American troops on the ground. Why? Because America cannot beat Iran if they go to Iran, bro. Iran is like all mountains, and that's not the kind of military we have. America has like invested all of its like assets into technology. So America is really good at like bombing niggas. You feel me? America is really good at technological warfare. But America has gone away from this whole like, you know, putting niggas on the ground with guns and like, let's go fight. Like, America ain't trying to do all of that. You know what I'm saying? And so Iran is like, we want you niggas here, but how they have to bait America in, and they're trying to do that through multiple ways. Israel also wants America to get boots on the ground. I'm gonna let Dr. Zhang explain that, because he can explain it a little better than I can relate to you. But fucking Israel also wants American boots on the ground, by the way. Anyway, right? So Iran is trying to do that two ways. One, they're bombing these other countries, right, that have American military outposts, which will then get these countries to hit up America and say, y'all niggas need to come and do something about this, bro. But also, as Professor Zhang just explained, by strangling the Strait of Hormuz, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but by strangling this, I mean, nigga, you get it. Niggas need to get out of here, bro. If they block this shit off and then essentially, you know, prevent them from getting food, shit like that, like, is going to be a big problem. And so all of these countries, they're going to turn to America and say, y'all niggas need to come and do something about this. And the reason why they're going to need boots on the ground is because they are not going to be able to completely facilitate regime change or dismantle all of Iran's ballistic missiles by just dropping bombs on them. A lot of their bombs are underground. The country, the regime, is organized through various people that are probably, you know, very widely dispersed. Like, the only way they're going to really be able to overthrow the Iranian government is by invading Iran, bro. And so, but again, at that point, Iran's just going to fucking take him to the ground, fucking put him in a rear naked, and just put him to sleep every time. It's Iran. It's why we lost the Vietnam War, right? Like, these niggas, they're fighting for a different reason, bro. And there's a lot of them. You know what I'm saying?
Bahrain, Qatar. But right now, the Iranians are actually threatening the very existence of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar. And why this is important is that the Gulf states are really the linchpin of the American economy. So what they do is they sell petrodollars, and then they recycle the petrodollars back into the American economy through the investments in the stock market. And right now, we know that the entire American economy is propped up by AI investments in data centers. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that comes from the Gulf states. So if the Gulf states are no longer able to sell oil, and they're no longer able to finance AI, this AI bubble in the United States.
God damn it. I ain't even think about that. Shit.
Then this AI bubble will burst.
Fuck, bro.
And with it, will
what is wrong with Trump, bro? Why did he do this shit?
Will burst as well as the entire American economy, which is really a financial Ponzi scheme.
Right.
So that's a dire situation that the Americans are facing right now.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, sir, an Amazon data center was literally hit in the UAE. And now, of course, big tech companies, which were looking at the UAE as a major potential data center investment hub with cheap and abundant energy, probably going to be rethinking that. We also wanted to talk to you about munitions. We can put this next one up here on the screen. The United States is racing to accomplish Iran mission before munitions run out. This is specifically around interceptor math. There's a famous video just from yesterday in Israel, which shows a single Iranian ballistic missile, which is being targeted by some 11 different interceptors, all of which miss Most of
God
those
damn
come
it.
from the United States, not to mention all of the different bases, the GCC countries that you just talked about, and the asymmetry of the cost. It's $1 million for a missile, tens of millions per interceptor in some of these cases. With these munitions running out, how does that change the global picture? So you're in China, obviously, much of the stocks in Asia of the United States are likely to have to be cannibalized if this were to go on. How's that going to affect the global picture here?
Right. So my first point is that the United States military is not designed to fight a 21st century war. Remember, the military-industrial complex came to being after World War II, and it was designed to fight the Cold War. And the Cold War was really about muscle flexing, about who was able to send people up into space, who was to first get the person on the moon, who had the more complex missile systems. And so the entire American military strategy revolves around very sophisticated technology that costs a lot of money to build. And that's what the American air defense system is basically. And that's why we're seeing this asymmetry, as you point out, in this war, where you have these $1 million...
Bro, you know how embarrassing that's going to be if America loses this war with Iran, bro? You know how embarrassing that's going to be, right? Ain't this the reason why we don't have better schools? Isn't this the reason why our public transportation sucks? Now, the real reason our public transportation sucks in America is because car companies lobby the politicians and basically make it so that politicians don't want to build out an actually like good quality, efficient public transportation system, because then less people will buy cars. And so that's really why we don't have a good transportation system in America. But what we get told is ain't enough money to go around for free university, for a more robust welfare system to help the people who are most in need, right? The reason the roads are falling apart, the reason why we don't have better infrastructure, the reason why we can't just, invest in clean energy is because we don't got the money, because we're putting all the money in the military. How embarrassing will it be if America then loses to a bunch of fucking like Iranians, bro? Right? Not that like there's anything inferior about Iranians, but the perception that Americans have of people over in the Middle East, that they're not as advanced, right? They're backwards. All of their women, they're covered up. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the technology. Right, and this, how the white supremacists talk about these people, bro. They call them towel heads and all of that shit. And so how fucking embarrassing is it going to be if a smaller nation, a poorer nation, a less equipped nation, just like Vietnam again, defeats the American military, bro? Oh my God. And for Israel? Oh my God.
Missiles trying to take out these $50,000 drones, and it's not sustainable in the long term. And so what we're seeing is really the puncturing of the aura of invincibility and inevitability that sustained American hegemony for the past 20 years, especially after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And this is really a reordering of not just the global economy, because this signals the collapse of the petrodollar, and with it, the entire U.S. dollar-based reserve currency system, but also the global hegemony of the United States. We're moving towards a multipolar world.
Professor, this morning, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was asked a question about potential ground troops in Iran. He refused to rule out that possibility. And he said, we're not going to project to you what we will or will not do, but we don't want to, rule anything out. We will do what it takes. Do you think that America will end up invading Iran from the ground?
I 100% believe that America is going to invade Iran. I 100% believe that. It's going to start with Lebanon. So currently, Israel is advancing into Lebanon. So here again is Israel, right? And Lebanon is right here. Currently, Israel occupies a portion of the southern region of Lebanon, and they have been doing that, I think, since the end of 2024. There was a skirmish between Iran and the militia group known as Hezbollah, in Lebanon, right? And so since that point, Israel captured portions of Lebanon, or the southern portions of Lebanon, and have been holding that as military outposts. However, they recently put out a warning to the people of Lebanon with a list of many cities, I believe, saying, hey, if y'all are here, y'all need to like get the fuck out, or like secure yourselves or some shit, because we plan to take this. So essentially Israel has given indication that they plan on further invading Lebanon. And that's where Hezbollah is, which is a militia group, a military group that is funded by Iran, and their whole thing is the destruction of Israel. That's like Hezbollah's, that's like their jam. That's like their whole thing. It's like, oh, fuck Israel. We want to destroy Israel. And so, yeah, they're, of course, retaliating for the murder of the supreme leader of Iran. They're retaliating on their behalf, attacking Israel. They've, sent over drones and shit like that. And so they're pushing more. Israel is pushing more into Lebanon. And so that in of itself, I believe that is going to be the gate that opens American ground troops. I don't think America's first like boots on the ground is going to be in Iran. I think it's going to be in Lebanon. And then once we got people in Lebanon, it's like so easy to just justify invading Iran. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think they're going to go to Lebanon first. Then this is going to be a long war, guys. I hope you understand this. This is going to be a long war. I think this is going to last at least 5 to 10 years. We're about to be at war with Iran, bro. This is going to be a slow burn.
It's already becoming relatively clear they won't be able to accomplish the goal of regime change or even regime collapse using just air power alone.
Right. So everyone says that the worst calamity that could happen in the United States is if it were to send ground troops into Iran. At the same time, the United States are committed to regime change in Iran. We've never had a precedent in history where you were able to regime change from the air alone.
Right.
You need ground troops. And so unfortunately, what's going to happen over the next few months is that pressure will build on America to send ground troops, especially from the GCC countries and from Israel, which are being pounded right now by the Iranians. So remember that if the GCC countries, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, if they go, then the petrodollar goes with them. So the Americans need to protect these countries, and these countries are going to demand that either the Americans bribe the Iranians to cease, and this is like $5 trillion in indemnity, okay?
Wow.
Or send ground troops.
That will be embarrassing. We start a war with these dudes and then we pay them money to stop? Oh, that will be so humiliating.
Wipe out the Iranian threat once and for all. And I know that there's no political will for ground troops to be used against Iran among the American people. But remember that 78% of American people was against initial strikes against Iran in the first place.
Right. And one of the things that really comes into question, I think, with all of this, sir, when we're looking at the geopolitical picture and the sacrificing in much of this from the United States on behalf of Israel, is kind of a question as to who and what wanted this. We were actually curious for your view on a disputed report here from the Washington Post. We can put it up here on the screen, F3. A push from the Saudis. Israel helped move Trump to attack Iran. Now, this has been internally disputed by Saudi Arabia, saying that they did not push the Trump administration to attack Iran. However, this is clearly an authorized leak from our own government trying to at least lay some of the blame on behalf of the GCC.
Saudi's like, we ain't to Saudi Arabia. They're looking to Iran like, they lying, bro. The gang, they lying to you, bro. We never wanted them to do that to y'all, bro. Because here's Saudi Arabia and here's Iran, right? Saudi Arabia, Iran. And so they're like, gang, we ain't never told them to do that, bro. They lying. They lying. We ain't never told them to do that. But, yeah, we're going to see why they probably did want America to actually do this. But let's see.
Of this analysis and of this narrative that Saudi Arabia was also trying to be behind this push to bomb Iran.
So I've always argued that both Saudi Arabia and Israel are heavily invested in regime change in Iran. Yeah. In fact, Saudi Arabia sees Iran as much more of an existential crisis than Israel. Because remember, Israel still has nuclear weapons, and Israel is a very diverse, very sophisticated economy, whereas Saudi Arabia is completely reliant on oil. And it's always had problems with Iran because Iran is a theocracy opposed to the Saudi monarchy. Iran funds and equips the Houthis, which have been antagonistic towards Saudi Arabia for the longest time. And right now, the Saudi economy is suffering. It's been trying to pivot towards more of a tourist economy. That's why they brought in Ronaldo. That's why they're switching to e-gaming. That's why they're building something called a line, NEOM. And all these things are not working out.
Right.
So they need to be able to control the oil resources of the entire Middle East if they are to survive and thrive as a nation. So I do believe that this reporting is credible, even though it does make Saudi Arabia look bad. But remember, Saudi Arabia says that they wanted peace, but they are helping the Israelis and the Americans.
Fuck niggas. Fuck niggas, backdooring niggas and shit. Nah, gang, that we ain't, bro. We would never do that to y'all. Iran, we would never do that to y'all, gang. You know what I'm saying? I know we've had our problems, but bro, we would never ask America to bomb y'all, bro. Why would we ever do that? We would never do that.
Attack Iran right now because they're allowing the Israelis and Americans to use Saudi airspace.
So help us understand, because it still feels to me like there are some pieces that don't totally add up. You had, in advance of this war on Iran, you had top military brass up to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying, this is a really bad idea. We are not ready for this. All the math on the interceptors that's been talked about for months at this point. And yet Trump still decided to go ahead. What is the calculus that he was making here that led him to take what, already appears to be catastrophic actions?
Right, okay. So this is the key question. Why do they do this? I think there are three possibilities, okay? And I think all three possibilities are valid. The first is that of hubris. If you look at history, this is how empires behave. So the Mindoro kidnapping was quick, successful, and it was adrenaline rush for Trump. And that made him overconfident in the capacity of the American military. Okay, so hubris is a factor, and we see this throughout history.
Damn.
Why did Hitler invade Stalin? Because he conquered Europe really easily, and he thought he was invincible, right? And that led to the destruction of the German army in the Soviet Union. So hubris is a factor. Then you have to look at internal political calculus, where even though America does not benefit from this war against Iran, Trump himself personally benefits.
Wow.
Why? Because
Make America great again, MAGA, truly. Y'all are fucking
Remember that the Saudis invested $2 billion in the private equity fund of Jared Kushner, who is the son-in-law of Donald Trump. And the Israelis, through Miriam Adelson, have been financing Trump's political career, right? So Miriam Adelson, a few months back, said that she will put up $250 million if Trump were to run a third term. So Trump is getting a lot of financial and political support from the Saudis and Israelis. Also remember that if this war goes sideways and Trump is forced to use ground troops, he will probably get approval from Congress, and this will give him emergency war powers, which will allow him to influence the midterms.
Wow.
So Trump is thinking about a third term. And I think at the
Oh my God! Fuck!
Get it. But if there's a war going on and you can delay elections and you have emergency war powers and people rally around the flag, then he probably will get a third term. And the last factor that is very important is the eschatological factor, where if you look at the Epstein files, it's clear that we are run by secret societies. It's clear that the world is run by these individuals who have a lot of power. We don't know who they are, but they control the military, they control the national security apparatus. And these people, there are different names for these people. You can call them the Illuminati. And the Illuminati are composed of three major groups, okay? You have the Jesuits, who control the Vatican. You have the Sephardim Frankists, which control the modern state of Israel today. And you have the Freemasons, which control the national security apparatus of the United States. And they believe that Israel, this war in the Middle East, is key to the end times in creating heaven on earth. So it's almost like a script.
Bro, I hate Christianity, bro. Truly, I do. It is the source of like all of our problems. Christianity got Donald Trump elected. Christianity is the reason why we have Christian Zionists and they believe in the end times and Jesus is coming back. But first we need to fulfill the prophecy. Nigga, what? Nigga, we do not live in the Lord of the Rings. We don't. We're not in the position we're in as a species because a woman ate a magic fruit because she was tricked by a talking snake. It's not real. Stop. Wake up. Oh my God, man. Oh well. Shit.
That they're following, even though it doesn't make any geopolitical sense. Okay, so I would say that these three are the best reasons why this is happening.
Wow. Well, sir, I hope you come back. This was very informative, I think, for both of us. We deeply appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, if you like.
Okay.